A woman in a 1930s bungalow kept a tally on a sticky note stuck to her bathroom mirror. Every drain fly she killed, she made a mark. Day 1, she got 11. Day 4, 19. By day 8, she was up to 26 in a single evening. And she called me because she was genuinely starting to think something was wrong with the house. She had killed close to 140 of them in a week. She was proud of that number. She thought it meant she was winning. That number was not a scoreboard. It was a receipt. Every mark on that sticky note was a fly that had already grown up inside her plumbing, already laid its eggs, and already finished its whole short life. She was counting graduations. Stay with me to the end of this, because there is one spot in almost every bathroom that people scrub around for weeks without ever once cleaning. And it is where I find the nursery more often than the drain itself. I will show you exactly where it is and how to get at it. 3 weeks she had been swatting. 3 weeks of bleach down the sink every couple of nights. A fly strip taped to the window. A plug-in gadget from the hardware store. Every morning, more flies on the wall. What she had actually been doing for those 3 weeks was killing the finished product, while the factory ran 24 hours a day, about 8 inches below the chrome. So let me tell you what is going on down there, because once you understand it, the fix becomes obvious and cheap. Inside every drain pipe in your house, there's a layer of soft, jelly-like gunk coating the walls. Plumbers call it biofilm. It is hair, skin cells, soap scum, toothpaste, shaving cream, food, grease, and the bacteria that live on all of it, and it builds up on the inside of the pipe exactly the way plaque builds up on the inside of an artery. Slow, even. A little thicker every month. It does not block anything. Water still goes down fine, which is why almost nobody knows it is there. To a drain fly, that film is a nursery and a pantry in the same place. A female lands on the rim of your drain, walks down into the dark, and lays somewhere between 30 and 100 eggs directly onto the surface of that film. Not at the opening, where you might spot them. Down in the wet, protected part of the pipe. At around 70 degrees, those eggs hatch in roughly 32 to 48 hours. What comes out are larvae, little legless, translucent things about 1/8 to 3/8 of an inch long. And they live inside the film itself. They eat it. They tunnel through it, feeding on the bacteria and the grease, and they breathe by pushing a tube up through the surface of the gunk like a snorkel. That larval stage runs 9 to 15 days. Then they pupate for another 20 to 40 hours, and out comes an adult that flies up into your bathroom and lands on the wall where you can finally see it. Egg to adult is 1 to 3 weeks. Adults live about 2 weeks. And the generations overlap, which is the part that explains everything you have been living through. While the ones on your wall are getting old and dying, the eggs they laid 4 days ago are already hatching, and last week's larvae are 3 days from emerging. It never goes quiet on its own, so when you kill 26 flies in an evening, you have not reduced anything. You have removed 26 retirees from a building with hundreds of residents you cannot see. The real question is what is happening behind that chrome. And before you can answer it, you have to be certain of what you are looking at. Drain flies, and you will also hear them called moth flies or sewer gnats, are tiny, roughly 1/6 to 1/5 of an inch. Fuzzy. Genuinely fuzzy. Body and wings both covered in fine hair. So under decent light they look soft rather than shiny. When one sits still, it holds its wings out flat over its back like a little roof, or like a tiny moth folded up on the tile. And they are terrible at flying. They do not cruise. They make short, jerky, hesitating hops of a couple of feet and then land again. Most of the time you find them parked dead still on the wall or the mirror within arm's reach of a drain, usually in the evening. Compare that to a fruit fly, which is smooth and tan with red eyes, flies properly, and orbits the fruit bowl, the recycling bin, the bottom of the trash can, an open bottle of wine. If your flies are hovering over the bananas, everything I am about to tell you is the wrong job, and you will waste a week on your plumbing for nothing. The way to tell in 2 seconds is to watch where they sit when they are not moving. Fuzzy and parked on the wall by the sink means drain fly. Smooth and circling your fruit means fruit fly. One more thing worth saying plainly, because people get worked up about this. Drain flies do not bite. They do not sting. They are not known to spread disease to people, and they do not touch your pipes. They are a nuisance and a symptom, so do not let anybody sell you an emergency. Now, pay attention to this next part, because a house has more drains than you think, and the flies show up in the room with the light on, not necessarily the room with the problem. There is a test for this that costs about $1, and it is the single most useful thing in this entire video. It is called the tape test, and it is the same method the University Extension Services recommend, which tells you it is not some internet trick. Before bed, take clear tape, packing tape, or wide cellophane tape, and lay a strip across the drain opening, sticky side facing down into the drain. Do not seal it completely. Leave a gap at one edge, or cut a small slit in the middle. You want air to move, because if you make it airtight, you change the conditions in the pipe and you can get a false result. Then go to bed. Drain flies are most active in the evening and overnight. So any adult that emerges has to come up through that opening, and it sticks to the underside of the tape. In the morning, peel it up and look at the sticky side. Fuzzy little bodies stuck to the tape means you have an active breeding site in that exact pipe. Clean tape means that drain is probably fine. 2 things people get wrong. First, do one drain at a time or label your strips. Otherwise, you have evidence and no idea what it is evidence of. Second, run it several nights on each suspect drain before you clear it, because not every adult emerges on the same night. One clean morning is not proof. 2 or 3 clean mornings in a row is. If tape will not stick because the area is damp, take a clear plastic cup, smear a thin film of petroleum jelly around the inside, and set it upside down over the drain overnight. Same result, and you can see what you caught. That one test done properly is the difference between cleaning the right pipe once and cleaning every pipe in the house 4 times. Before I get into the actual cleaning, one quick thing. Everything I teach here comes out of the same place, which is 30-odd years of watching homeowners pay for repairs a 5-minute check would have prevented. I put 100 of those into a book called 100 Old House Fixes that save you thousands. What it is really good for is knowing when a cheap patch is a real repair and when it is only delay, and what questions to ask a contractor so the quote comes back honest. The link is in the description, and there's a QR code on the screen if that is easier. By the next morning, you're standing there with a strip of tape in your hand, knowing exactly which pipe you are dealing with. Now, we go get the film out and the order matters. Physical first, chemical second. Skip the physical part, and you have wasted the chemical part. Start by pulling the stopper. On a bathroom sink, that usually means going under the cabinet, unscrewing the little nut on the rod that runs into the back of the tailpiece, and pulling that rod out so the stopper lifts free. Some just twist and lift. Either way, look at the underside when it comes out, because it is usually wearing a black sleeve of exactly the gunk we have been talking about. That is your film. Then take a flexible drain brush, a long nylon bristle brush on a bendable wire, about $10 to $15 at any hardware store. Run it down and work it, pushing and pulling and twisting, scrubbing the walls rather than the middle. You are not clearing a clog. You are stripping wallpaper off the inside of a pipe. Concentrate on the first foot, because that is where the great majority of the film sits, in the tailpiece and the top of the trap, the section that stays wet and never gets scoured. Keep going until the brush comes out cleaner than it did the first 4 times. It is going to look grim, and that is the point. What is on that brush has been hatching flies into your bathroom for a month. Once the pipe is scrubbed, then you treat it. What you want is an enzyme or bacterial drain product, a gel or thick liquid, roughly $10 to $25. These do not burn anything. They are live bacteria and enzymes that digest fats, oils, grease, and organic matter, which is to say they eat the exact thing the larvae are living in. Get the gel, because it clings. A thin liquid runs straight down and out, while a gel coats the vertical walls and works there overnight. Pour it in last thing at night when nobody is going to run that tap. Then again every other day for the first week, and weekly after that, for 2 to 3 full weeks. You are not trying to win one night. You are trying to make that pipe a place where nothing can finish a life cycle. If you would rather not buy anything, scrub hard with the brush and let a cup of washing soda dissolved in warm water sit overnight. Slower, more repetitions, but it costs pocket change and does not hurt old pipe. Now let me kill off the 2 things you have almost certainly already tried, because I would rather you understand why they failed than think you did them wrong. Bleach. Everybody pours bleach, and I understand the logic because it kills things and drains are where things live. But bleach is thin as water. You pour a cup down a vertical pipe, and it is into the trap in about 2 seconds, rinsing over the top of the gunk without penetrating it. So the eggs and larvae inside that jelly never get wet with it. Meanwhile, it is hard on old rubber seals, which in a house from the 30s is not nothing. You get a satisfying smell and a week of quiet, and that week of quiet is what fools people into doing it again. Boiling water has the same problem, and 2 more besides. PVC starts going soft around 140 degrees, and boiling water is 212. So pour that down repeatedly, and you can deform a joint or crack a fixture. The other reason genuinely surprised me when I first read it. Drain fly larvae are very hard to drown because they trap air bubbles against themselves and stay submerged for a day or more. Flooding the pipe does not do what you think. Those larvae are built for a wet, filthy, occasionally flooded environment, because that is the entire habitat. And one hard line: do not pour insecticide down a drain. It does not reach the larvae in the film. It is not labeled for that use, and it goes straight out into the sewer or your septic system for zero benefit. Mechanical removal is what works. And that is what the extension services say, too. Now, the version you have been running in your head is probably still one sink, and it is bigger than that. The drain breeding your flies is very often not the one you use daily. Your kitchen sink, main bathroom, and shower get scoured constantly, so film never gets a chance to build there. Think about the others. The basement floor drain, the laundry standpipe, that vertical pipe your washing machine hose hooks into, the guest bathroom sink used at Christmas, the utility sink in the garage, the basement toilet flushed twice a year. Every one is a wet, undisturbed pipe with nothing running through fast enough to scrub it. There's a second problem with them. Every drain has a trap, that U-shaped bend holding a plug of standing water that seals your house off from the sewer line. Gas cannot get through water, so as long as that water sits there, the main line stays put. But water evaporates. In a floor drain getting no flow at all, the trap can dry out completely in 2 to 3 weeks, and in a dry basement with the furnace running and air moving across it, under a week. Once that trap is dry, you have an open pipe. You have lost the seal, so sewer odor comes up, and you have lost the barrier keeping the main line out of your house. A neglected drain gives you a thick film for the flies you already have and an open door for more. Which brings me to the thing you need to hear before you start, so you do not decide you failed on day 9. You are going to clean that drain properly tonight, and you are going to see drain flies tomorrow and the day after. That is arithmetic, not failure. Stripping the film removes the food and the habitat, but eggs laid before you started are already in motion, and larvae already in the pipe are inside a 9 to 15 day development window. They are going to finish. So, expect stragglers for up to 2 weeks after a correct cleaning, tapering the whole time. Fewer each day. That taper is your evidence it is working. So watch the trend rather than the count. Same number on day 14, as day 2 means something else is breeding. Keep running the tape overnight through all of it. 3 clean mornings in a row, and that drain is done. Keeping it done is close to free. And here is where I will say something about my own trade. There is no money in prevention. Nobody makes a truck payment teaching you to run a tap for 30 seconds, so this part rarely gets said out loud, and it matters most. Once a week, run hot water for 30 seconds down every drain nobody uses. Guest bath sink, guest shower, utility sink, laundry standpipe, basement floor drain. About 4 minutes for a whole house. That flow keeps the trap topped up so the seal holds, and keeps enough water moving that film cannot establish at all. For floor drains, pour in a bucket of water and float a little mineral oil on top. Oil does not evaporate the way water does, so a trap that would have dried out in 3 weeks holds for months. A couple of dollars standing between you and a few hundred. Now, troubleshooting, because there are situations where you do everything right and it still does not work. If you have cleaned the confirmed drain properly, treated it 3 weeks, and the numbers have not moved, stop cleaning that drain. It is not your source or not your only one. Check under every sink with a flashlight for a slow leak, because a damp cabinet floor grows the same film the pipe does. Check your air conditioner condensate pan and its drain line, which is standing water with organic sludge in it by design. Check outside near the foundation for a clogged gutter or a low wet spot, because these flies breed outdoors in warm weather, and they are small enough to come through ordinary window screening. If none of that pans out, the problem is past where a homeowner should be working. A cracked waistline under the slab, a floor drain buried behind finished wall, a failed connection in a crawl space. That is a real service call and the right time to spend the money because you are buying a diagnosis of your waste system. And I want to be straight about when to stop. Sewage backing up, a smell of gas, opening a wall, working around your electrical panel. None of that is a save money with a brush job. Knowing what to check and what not to touch is the entire skill. And it keeps a $40 Saturday from turning into a $4,000 Monday. Now, let me pay off what I promised you at the start. Go look at your bathroom sink. Up near the top of the basin, an inch or two below the rim, there is a small hole, maybe a chrome ring around it, maybe just an opening in the porcelain. That is the overflow, and its job is to catch water if the basin fills too high and route it past the stopper so you do not flood the bathroom. Here is what almost nobody realizes. Behind that little opening is a channel running down inside the body of the sink into the drain below the stopper. Several inches of real passage and a dead end for water flow, because the whole point of it is that water only goes in there when you have made a mistake, so it stays damp. It collects soap and toothpaste and skin cells with every splash, and it grows the thickest, oldest, most undisturbed biofilm anywhere in your bathroom. In a dark tube no brush has ever been in, and nothing you poured down the drain has ever touched. That is why people scrub the drain correctly, treat it 2 weeks, and still have flies. They clean the pipe. The nursery was 6 inches away in a channel they did not know existed. So do the overflow, too. Get a small bottle brush, or the narrow end of that drain brush into that opening, and work it. And expect what comes out to be worse than what came out of the drain. Then pour a little enzyme gel straight into the overflow hole and tape it as its own separate test. Because I have pulled tape off an overflow with flies on it while the drain strip beside it came up clean. Same goes for a tub, where the overflow plate under the spout hides the same wet, unflushed channel. Remember where we started. She had 140 marks on a sticky note and a pest control quote for $240. And that company was going to come out and tell her to clean her drain, which is genuinely the correct advice. It was only advice she was paying $240 to receive. What she actually needed was a $12 brush, an $18 bottle of gel, and a strip of tape. Her sticky note had been counting the wrong thing the whole time. If you want more of this, the book is 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It is built around at-home checklists and a seasonal maintenance calendar, so you can walk your own house a few times a year and catch the small stuff before it becomes a service call. Link is in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. And if you want more old house fixes that keep money in your pocket instead of somebody else's truck, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy.